Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Compelling Conversations podcast. Today, we have my first ever international guest. This is so cool. Emir Avdić. And Emir, where are you joining us in from?
I'm joining you from my grandmother's house in Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Wow, that is so cool, man. So cool. Are you in Sarajevo or are you outside of that?
No, I'm in Zenica actually. It's a couple of kilometers far from Sarajevo.
Wow, this is so cool. I'm so excited to have you here, man. Yeah, very appreciative.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
my pleasure, man, for sure.
yeah. So, Emir, one time when I was talking to you in the basement of the library, you
Yeah.
said to me something along the lines of how a college student's life is very much just studying and sleeping, and that's just all the time that it encompasses. After your first year, would you say that this is still the case?
Yeah. I guess it depends on who you're asking because everybody, use their time differently. I mean, at least for me, for my first and second year of college, I was taking up like five classes at a time. There's not even just five, like five lectures and then three labs in like a single semester. That was like my first, that was my first 4 semesters, was just like nothing but class, class, class. Show up to the school, show up to campus, go to class. And after all the classes, all my classes are over, I probably would have some time to kill. Because traffic is every single day. I finish class, and it's always usually around the time where it's just nothing but traffic, so you can't really leave, or else it's gonna take an hour. And I spent some time afterwards after class just hanging out with people, talking with people. But now I would say that now, since I'm taking it a little bit more slower, like I'm not taking nearly as many classes as it was in prior semesters, that I probably just leave some more room to be a part of organizations, events. Actually, I think in like if like the past like my first year on campus, actually being on campus, I've only ever been to like one event. It was like relatively small.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you enjoy spending your time the most?
Um, you know, I just doing whatever I enjoy, I guess that I just be like, video games, sleep. I need to start reading more. I did a lot of reading when I was younger. I need to start reading more. There's like a couple of books I haven't finished yet, but I would
Why do
say
you
reading.
why do you think that you need to start reading more?
It's just like, I don't know. It's just, I guess it's just like it's a another way to pass the time that's actually really fun. And there's a couple of stories that I've started but haven't really finished that I think, I mean, might as well. I mean, can't hurt. Plus, my mom's always telling me like that I need to read more so then like my vocabulary can be better. Which I did. I think yesterday I did a Wordle. I did like my first ever Wordle. I never do Wordles, so I finally did a Wordle, and then I was on like the last like I was like a letter or two away from finishing it, and then my cousin, she was like, "Oh yeah, the word's a gape." I was like, "That's not a word," and she's like, "Eh, try it." I put it in a gape, and that was the Wordle for the day. I was like, "Oh my God,
Wow.
dude. There's no way that a gape is an actual word." And then she starts saying like, "Oh, a gape means this when your mouth is agape," which I heard of it before, but it's like, come on, man, there's no way.
Wow. It's so interesting. That small little example that you mentioned, I find that really cool because it's like you tied that in with what your mom was saying, right? About how reading might help your vocabulary. It's like
Hmm,
that little knowledge, that word, you could have known it if your time was spent reading, which is so cool
exactly.
because it's like that's like anything in life, right? Like Like even for myself, for anybody out there, whatever circumstance we're in, like it's like that little thing we could have like done it or known it if we had put in the time before. It's so cool. Yeah, that you
Yeah,
mentioned
yeah.
that.
And I think you like I mean even for yourself, like you when you told me in the basement one time like about how like when you told me that you knew how to speak Turkish, and I was like, wow. And then you said I even asked you like, but what ethnicity are you? If you said you're Pakistani. So I was like, how do you know Turkish so? And I was like, and then you told me like if you have enough of a desire to do something that you would put your time into it and over time it doesn't have to be like an hour or whatever. Like, give me like as much as it's like 10 minutes every day. And you know, you'll sooner or later you'll end up perfecting.
Yeah, no, totally, totally. That's precisely what happened. You know, I had such a strong love for the culture. And for years since I was a child, like just little by little, right? Small progress. And you kind of get a hang of it. So you're totally
Yeah, yeah.
right. You mentioned about reading that for you it's fun. So I'm curious, what is fun about it for you? And the other thing is, what does reading do for you?
Let's see. What does reading do for me? It's just a, you know, I guess in some aspects, like to like um inspire like I guess like some sort of creativity. Because there's like I spend a lot of time just like thinking of like, you know, I guess stories, scenarios, characters. I'm not a writer by any
I feel
means.
like
I
you'd
just
be
like
good at that though. Based on the conversations I've had with you, I feel like you'd be awesome at that. But I'm
oh
sorry
man, I appreciate
for
it.
interrupting you. Yeah.
Oh no, that's cool, man, for sure. And what was the first part of the question you asked me?
So you said that reading is fun for you. So I was just curious, what
Oh,
does that
what makes it
fun mean to you? Yeah.
right, right. Let's see. I mean, I don't like reading like you know historical like documents, like anything fiction, fantasy, sci-fi related. I think that stuff is super cool. Dramas too. I'm really into dramas as long as they're not like, you know, super dragged out and like pointless. But um yeah, I think that's what makes it fun for me is like character interactions. I love like um characters are developed in a way where they may seem so different like in terms of their personality. Like you can have like the most like cliche built characters, but like when you put them together in like in a scenario or in a plot to where they somehow still manage to fit, like you still, you know, have a chemistry. I just love that. I love that in like in stories or in books. Like it's great.
Is there a particular example of that you really like?
Like a book.
A book or those characters that you were talking about?
Oh man. There's a book series I enjoyed it so much, especially like it's a steampunk
Mhm.
steampunk fantasy story about a group of it's basically starts off with a it's basically like a pirate. There's a pirate named Darian Frey. And basically he started off as like, you know, he's a pilot. He flies this like this ship and he basically started out as like as part of like, you know, the military, flying for his kingdom, you know, making like, you know, cargo delivery. And then and then we learn through like, you know, like we learn later down in like the books, the stories about his experience in the military as like something like, you know, horrifying. Like the things that he witnessed, the things that he's done, you know, shaped him out to be like somewhat of a cold, you know, character who still has some, you know, who still has like wit, like oh, there's some like sarcastic humor. That's basically his humor. It's like, you know, snarky, sarcastic. I guess that's his way to cope. And then like we learn how he assembles his crew, how he handpicks every single one of his like crew members to be part of his ship. And like you have like the engineer who's like monotone, doesn't say much, but whenever he does say something in like he's like a foreigner. So like he rarely speaks the language. whenever he like does speak to the other crew members, it usually has like that impact that, something that like really like puts it into like,
Mm.
puts like the message into them. And then you have the doctor, who is a former military surgeon who's cut people up, accidentally killed someone in a procedure which got him discharged. And he's a drunk addict, like, a drunkard, my bad. He's a drunkard. And like I think he was like the third member of the crew that was, actually like, invited, or I guess hot recruited. And then you have a pilot who's scared of flying, but whenever he does fly, he's flying to basically just to survive because he's got nowhere else to go. Also, as part of the military discharge because, well, crashed a couple of planes. And then you have another guy, and then another guy who's basically like this. In this universe, there's like spirits that you can conjure up, and um like from like another dimension, and you can use these spirits. Uh, you know what SCPs are, right?
No, actually, I don't. What
No.
is that?
Oh, well, so an SCP is like, it's like, I guess like a monster, or like some kind of like being that's like, that is like created in like these experiments. I think I'm not too well versed in SCPs, but like basically in the universe of the story, or like the story that I like, the book that I'm talking about, is basically this guy. He can conjure up spirits. He can call spirits using like radio frequencies. He can call spirits into like their world, and then put them into like into like pieces of jewelry, like a or not even just yeah, just like jewelry, anything.
Like
He put like
curses.
yeah, yeah, actually, yeah, that's
Oh,
pretty good. Like, yeah, he basically and put a curse on this, like on a sword, so that the
wow.
person wielding it, can like, doesn't even have to like be an experienced swordsman. He just has to like hold the blade, and the blade will fight for him.
Wow.
And yeah, so there's this guy who basically also ended up conjuring a spirit into the world, the real world, and that spirit actually ended up killing his niece. So then he lives this life of just, sadness, we're full of regret, but he knows he has to keep pursuing this passion of his to potentially bring her back from the dead.
Mm.
Like, I mean, that's just a couple of characters. There's a couple of other characters that, that are part of the crew, but like the I guess like the one common thing you see amongst all these people is that they have something they regret from their past that still lingers with them. And then
Mm.
throughout the whole entire series, they go and like solve each other's problems. And I guess that's what brings them together more as like a crew, despite their like, snarky remarks at each other, general dislike of the other person. They all understand that, they're in this together, and that they'll help each other out no matter what. Like the amount of times in the book where it's like crew members are, like angry, and they end up leaving just for the crew to like follow after them because they know something's up with them. And then they end up saving that one crew member who caught like some situation because of something that came up from their past. Honestly, it's that kind of group dynamic that I love in a story. Is like you have all these completely different characters that, you generally like, if you just saw each other on the street, they wouldn't say anything to each other. They would just walk by each other like as if nothing. But because they were all put together for like a common, you know, through a common like goal, and through just circumstance, I think it's really cool. And just to see them like all of them like develop like over like a relationship with one another.
That is very fascinating. I
Yeah.
never would have known this, that you're into that. But that's so cool, especially the way that you explain that. Several things that you mentioned caught up to me. The first one was you mentioned there's a pilot who's afraid to fly.
Mm.
I think that's like a very interesting archetype. Like the guy
Right,
who's
yeah.
like for that role, but he's afraid to do it. Well, what is
Yeah.
his story? What's about that?
So the reason why he's afraid of fly, initially he wasn't afraid. I mean, why else would he have joined the Navy to fly, right? I mean,
Hmm.
he joins the Navy to fly. You know,
Initially, he wasn't afraid, you said. Wow.
he was not afraid.
Okay.
But it's been a while since I read the books. Um, but I think and why he's so afraid of flying now is because he's had so many close encounter, like dangerous, like moments where you just was so like I mentioned, I'm pretty sure like he's crashed a lot of like aircraft, and there's about plenty of like close call near death situations where he's just like I can't do this anymore. This is just caused me to get like all like scared whenever I'm like whenever I'm in the air. But I forget the exact reason why he was discharged. It's explained in one of the books why like his backstory. But he was discharged, and then I mean, it's like as a as a pilot. I mean, he had like nowhere else to go. I mean, what else are you gonna do?
Mm.
So he was like, okay, this I guess I'll fly for someone else. I mean, I hate doing it, but I think it was actually the captain, Frey, who actually like approached him. I guess because they had like so since they were both in the Navy, I guess they had sooner or later they're gonna end up finding each other. I forget exactly how again, but he hired him. He was like, I got nothing else to do. I got no other talents, so I'm just gonna go fly. And yeah, he's like the most like and mind you, this guy's like really good. Like in the book, like he does like all these crazy things, all these
A
crazy
really good
maneuvers. Like
pilot.
he's a really good pilot, but he just hates
Wow.
flying so much.
That's too interesting. It's like one thing that it's making me think of is like human beings that are afraid to live. It's like initially they were like fine with life and they loved it. But like as they trek throughout their journey and they have so many obstacles, they become like reluctant and scared. But it's like you're a human being, you're supposed to live. He's a
Right, right.
pilot, he's supposed to fly. It's such a cool dynamic that you mentioned there. It's very
It
fascinating.
was so good. If you want me to recommend the book to you, the series,
What is it called, the
it's
series?
called it's called Tales of the Ketty J, which is the
Tales
ship.
of
Tales of the Ketty J,
Petty.
Ketty. Yeah, Ketty J. And that's the ship that the main character, or I guess like the captain flies.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Of
it's such a good book series. Good.
I'll take your word for it. Yeah. I'm sorry. Did I cut you off? Were you going to say something?
Oh no, I'm just saying like it's just a like really good series. I'd highly recommend it, especially if you're a fan of like sci-fi,
Yeah.
steampunk, especially.
I see the enthusiasm on your face. I believe you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I'm curious, among all those characters, who do you see yourself most in and why?
Oof.
Or
Deep
do you even see
question.
yourself in them? Yeah.
Um, hmm, man. Honestly, I probably wouldn't really see myself in any of these characters. Maybe a character I might see myself like, most like most, I guess, similar to or like how I would relate to them to the most is I guess the scientist guy that I mentioned from like Conjure of like spirits and demons and all that. I guess I kind of would relate to him in a way in like because he was at the beginning he was super confident in his abilities as I think what he called himself was a oh damn I forgot what he called himself but like that passion he was super confident in that passion in like, his abilities to do his work but after he accidentally killed his niece he ends up like double questioning everything doubting like having a lot of doubt and I think that's kind of like similar to what I have where if I'm super like like super like if I'm working on something whatever it may be like homework or a test like I doubt myself a little bit too much to where it slows me down a lot and that's also what I think this character goes through as well is that that self-doubt it slows him down a little and people gotta encourage him, reassure him, push him forward.
Wow. You mentioned that something that binds all these characters together is they all have some regret in their lives. With the relationship between regret and time, how do you view all that?
Is that no matter how long you live life, or like the more time I guess the more time you spend not fixing the problem, the more time that you spend not fixing the problem, the less time you have to actually solve it or to find closure in whatever happened in your past. All these characters, they all come together with issues. They all have issues, and um, like a captain who is just, a captain who's witnessed a lot of messed up things in a war, whose wife, whose fiance he was going to marry on the day of their wedding, he ends up, leaving. He got cold feet and he left. And then his fiance had, developed such an anger for him. She herself became a pirate, and they basically became rivals. And
Wow.
and every single time he's like, ever like spoken with her after the, wedding face to face, every single time he's talked to her, you know, he himself doesn't know why he did what he did. Like, he doesn't understand if he had cold feet. He didn't know like why he just couldn't marry her. What was the issue? And then, every single time he talks to her, again, like something pushes them away. Something he doesn't know, and he doesn't know what. And that's why I'm saying how, like, all this time you can spend trying to like solve a problem, solve some issue that you have within yourself. Like, the more time you spend not solving that, the less time you have to solve it. And then you might run out of that time. And then once you run out of that time, you think to yourself, like, what was I doing this whole time? That's what
And
a lot of the characters have.
that's what particularly haunts this guy.
Yeah, like, yeah,
What you said, that whole thing, it was. I'm so glad you've mentioned all these things. I mean, it's opening up so many different like perspectives to me. Especially, I said he himself didn't understand why he didn't marry her. Is that ever explained? Is that ever explored? Or
yeah, later on, I think later on is like it's actually like finally revealed that I think it was later on finally revealed that maybe, again, it's been a while since I last read the series. I think it was revealed later that that his fiance was actually, I think, pregnant, and that, like, I'm just like, whoa, like, I didn't know this at all. And then I forget what happens to the kid. I think either like died somehow, some way, somehow, or again, I think it might have been that. I forget, but it was later explained exactly, like, like he finally comes to, like, realization, like, this is what it was wrong, this was going wrong, and you know this is how we can fix it. Yeah, but yeah, I think
damn,
that's that was his regret, was not marrying her, and going through and becoming a military service member. I actually think he actually left for the military after after the wedding. So I think that's why he was there to begin with. But yeah, that is what he was regretting the whole entire like series, like not marrying her, not you know coming to terms with what was going on with him.
wow. Is there a particular lesson that that whole series has like instilled
Oh,
within you?
yeah, it's definitely that one of them definitely is um a couple of lessons actually. It was one of them is definitely like be loyal be loyal to family, whether that's your blood related family, or a family you are, a group of people you consider as family. Remain loyal to them, because if you remain loyal to them, they'll remain loyal to you, and always have each other's backs. I think it basically, like, family it, you may have a friend, like you may have a friend, he'll be there 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, but you always have family. That's something you will always have, for the rest of your life. And another thing, I guess another like lesson learned is don't take too long. Like if they're like, yeah, if there's an issue or if there's something that you feel like you need to do, um, go out and do it. Go out and try, and go out and I don't know, I guess like for example, pursue the profession you wanted to pursue. Learn, learn the skills that you need. Basically go out and do things because you know, for example, in my case, uh, personally for me is that so obviously I'm maybe ethnically Bosnian, right? But I was born in America. I was born, in Texas. So being part of the diaspora, well, like a lot of other American Bosnians or Bosnian Americans. I mean, obviously English is probably going to be like our first language. The more like well-spoken language in Bosnian is like you know the less spoken, more broken language, especially for me, like I'm better at speaking it now than I was a year ago, 2 years ago. But I always, find myself thinking like, what am I like? I need to really find the time to sit down and just learn, properly learn, because sooner or later, and it's not even just, obviously it's for me, it's just so I know the language, it's my mother tongue. It's also for like, um, for example, you know, my grandparents who are still around, you know, definitely should learn the language so that way I can actually have like a more, because I can speak to them, I understand them perfectly fine most of the time. But like that's only for like the most like general thing. But if I would want to get to know them better, have a more meaningful, deeper conversation with them, I would have to learn the language better, right? And I just always find myself thinking like, I should really sit down, learn the language better. That way, I mean, or else, like, uh, there's a lot of things that I could say that I leave unsaid, and I should learn the language now so I can actually properly express myself to family who live here, or yeah, family who live here, and just like and to just not let like you know uh I guess our culture dissipate, you know, especially
You
with
said,
go ahead, sorry.
no, no, I cut you off. Keep going.
No, I'm just saying, especially with, nowadays, more and more Bosnian youth are leaving Bosnia after like their college, after getting college degrees. He was even mentioning like a Friday sermon that I was attending that the preacher, he was saying that we should he was telling, because nowadays it's a lot of just elderly people that go, not a lot of youth. So he was telling the elderly people, we should work harder to keep them here so that way, they don't leave. And I guess that just shows like the dire situation that, sooner or later it's not gonna be a lot of people living here and a lot of Bosnians living here. And I think that's just sad. And I think learning language is definitely something that will definitely keep that culture alive, you know?
Yeah, and it's a beautiful culture. I've always been an admirer of your Bosnian culture. It's cool
Yeah,
stuff.
thank you, man. Thank
Yeah.
you.
You mentioned something so cool, and I feel like it's just a beautiful statement. There's a lot of things I could say that are left unsaid. And that just encompasses everything we've been talking about. Time, regrets, just who you are, what you could do. That's amazing. Don't take too long. Go out and do it. That was a
Yeah.
cool lesson that you learned, and the way that you just connected that with the language. The way that I could relate to that as well is the other day. It's been a few months now. I came across a statement that the price you pay for procrastination in anything is your unlived realities pass by you. So it's
Oh.
like, what they say, right? Like how there's like um luck is something like preparation and then like the opportunity and like they like clash or whatever. So
Hmm.
it reminds me of that, and so maybe you think this, I don't know, like man, like if I did speak like the best Bosnian, like that particular opportunity could have been like 10 times better or something. Have you
Oh yeah.
experienced that or anything similar that you might attribute to that statement? Too many things, huh?
uh, one in particular, one in
One in
particular.
particular. Okay, cool, cool. You want to share it?
Yeah, I mean, why not? Um, being a youthful 20-year-old, I would like to hopefully someday, find a girl, Bosnian girl, you know, I mean, it doesn't have to be Bosnian, but I think if find a Bosnian girl, you know, I think it'd just be better if I could at least, actually talk to her properly and actually like, in our native tongue, actually like flirt a
Yeah.
little with her. But, it's just like, if you can't do that, if I can't speak the language, what are the odds? Like there's no point even trying, right? And I mean, yeah, that also comes with, like that's also another reason to learn the language, not even just like for family or just, be able to speak it, but it's, also like, general use.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, man.
Yeah. No, no, I like that. I really like that. That's cool stuff. And it's a good point too, actually. It's actually a very good point.
Yeah.
Um, do you have any closing thoughts?
Closing
Anything you
thoughts?
felt like you wanted to say, didn't get a chance to say, or something on your mind that you wanted to express?
No, I mean, I guess a closing thought that I can give is actually, something that my dad told me. And again, this with time is that, you can you can spend money, give money, earn money. You can spend time, but you can't earn back that time. Once you spend that time is gone forever. So really makes you think it really makes you think. And I guess it really can really like uh slow you down to help you like, just slow you down and to just really think about what you're doing, how you're gonna do it. So that way that time that you spend doing it is actually spent, you know, properly and most efficiently. Because,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, another interesting thing that's come up in all of these things that we're talking about is choice. Choice has always been there. We never mentioned it, but every little thing we discussed, it's a matter of choice. What do you choose to do? What do I choose to do? What do those characters choose to do? And that definitely functions as a time. That's beautiful advice from your father. It's cool stuff.
yeah,
Um, you really honored me coming here. Like I'm very appreciative. My first international guest joining in from Bosnia. So cool. And you're also my first Cypresian on here, which is another really cool
Cypresian.
thing. It's
That's
a
a
term
big
I
word.
coined. It's a term I coined. People from
Oh,
Cyprus. Yeah. Yeah.
Cyprus. Oh,
Sugarlanders, Katy folk,
right, right, right.
Herlanders. Yeah. That stuff. But yeah, thanks so much for being here, Amir. I really appreciate
Yeah,
this,
for
man.
sure, man. I'm glad to come on here. It
Yeah.
was a really nice time spent,
Yeah.
talking about this.
Yeah, you're an awesome dude, and I always love talking to you. So this was awesome to preserve this little thing right here. Yeah.
Hey man, hey, thank you so much.
Yeah. Before we leave, could you give us like a cool little Bosnian phrase or saying?
A little Bosnian phrase or saying, uh, man, there's one that there's one that my grandfather. I can't really like. I forgot the exact wording of it, but actually, yeah, I probably shouldn't even try. There was a phrase that my grandfather always there's always a phrase that my grandfather tells me is to like basically just translates to basically just quiet slow river flows and well and now I think about it pretty much forgot exactly the second half of that but it's basically just to basically just take your time
Mm.
something like that yeah that's something
Rijeka,
that
huh?
huh oh
Rijeka,
yeah. Rijeka
river.
Rijeka
I remember.
uh but the first part was Tiho Voda and then I forgot the rest of it.
All right,
Which is
cool.
exactly another reason for me to learn to learn my language better.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you. It was cool. It's cool having you, man.
Hey,
Um,
no, thank you, man.
yeah, and in case I don't, speak to you, Eid Mubarak, bro.
Oh, Emabotic, man.
Yeah,
It's for yeah,
tomorrow.
it's a couple of yeah,
Yeah,
tomorrow, a couple of
yeah,
hours for me. Yeah.
yeah. All right, dude. Well, you take care, my man, and stay safe, yeah?
Hey, hey, for sure. You too, man.
Thank you. All right, bye.
See you later, man.